Hi there, this is our Sports Practitioner Assignment 2 presentation. I'm Josh Flagg.
I'm Jerry Telempes.
I'm Connor Toland.
I'm Natalie Swiss.
And our presentation today is going to be on interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary roles of coaching. So to start off, we'll have a quick introduction of each. So interdisciplinary, this is a method of coaching where one role per person is performed in a team-based environment where they all communicate with each other. So you could have a big group of people, a little group of people, but there's constant communication between these people to succeed and push forward as a team. And the other role is multidisciplinary. This is a person who will perform a set of roles but will only exist in their own environment. So if you had a head coach, they would focus on their roles and the physiotherapist would focus on their roles. They wouldn't really integrate. They might have a little bit of communication but not a massive amount. So what we're going to be looking on for our presentation, we've got team sports and individual sports. So we've got rugby, football and trampolining, and we're going to look at how they differ in their coaching roles. So to start off, we've got rugby. So this is for, my background is rugby, and I'm going to be looking at the levels I played at, the levels I coached at and the levels I watch at. So to start with, the level I coach at, one of the levels is junior level. So in our junior level we have a number of roles. So we have a head coach, we have a assistant coach, we have two assistant coaches and we have a team manager. From there, as a team, we also double up in roles, so we will look at fitness, nutrition, some skills coaching, and also player welfare. So we'll act as welfare managers to make sure the players are alright. All these roles are volunteer based, so no one gets paid for what they do. And if we want to get qualifications, we have to get our own qualification and pay for it ourselves. Sometimes the club will subsidise, but usually we all pay for it off our own back. When applying for these jobs in our level, this level, you don't really need a qualification, it's advised, but clubs will not turn people away because it's all volunteer based, they need as many help as they can get. In terms of rugby background as well, we all have rugby backgrounds, but not necessarily at the highest level. Some of us have played a decent standard, but I know for myself, I've only played a low standard rugby, but obviously I'm a keen rugby fan, so that's my background for the coaching side of it. The next level I play at, which is amateur level. So moving on a bit more from the junior level, the coaching difference. So we've got a first team coach and an assistant coach. We'll have a first team manager and a second team manager. They'll look after the team on match days. And we'll also have a physiotherapist, a senior physiotherapist, which will look after the whole setup of the senior side. From there, they then also fill in roles as a backs coach, a forwards coach, S&C coaches, nutritionist. You have a kit manager. The second team manager focuses on the kit. And then on match days, the second team will have their own physiotherapist, which will only be the second team manager, because the first team physiotherapist is the physiotherapist for the whole club. So again, much like the junior level, a lot of it is volunteer based, so there's no real financial backing. Some coaches at some levels will get paid, at our club we don't, so there is no real money. Again, it's all volunteer, so again, the requirements for levels is you pay for your own courses, but there's no real requirement. They like to have level 1s and 2 coaches, but if someone has a knowledge, they don't mind bringing them in because of their background. And again, a lot of people are ex-players, so their level of coaching, they might be quite a high level ex-player, but they're all ex-players that are associated with the club and somehow. Again, which is really good because it's buying back into the club. And then finally, we're going to look at the elite level. So these are all the elite level roles for coaching. I'm not going to go through all of them individually because there's 31 there. But moving on from what we've said, so most clubs you've got your head coach, your assistant coach, but in elite you'll have forwards coaches and specific skill coaches with 2 managers. You'll branch out into more physiotherapy stuff, so have team doctors, club doctors, a couple of physiotherapists, head of medical services, and then moving on from that as well, in a senior environment for elite level, you'll have academy coaches, so you'll have a lot of those coaches restructured with academy again. So as you can see, this is a bit of a coaching tree for Bristol Rugby Club. As a head coach will work at the top, and then a lot of coaches will feed down underneath them. So yeah, right down to the academy will work all under the one head coach. So as I said, it's about 30 roles that all link under one man. So the comparison, so at junior level, we have, at the junior level I talked about, we have four staff members. Each of will fulfil 8 roles. At amateur, you have 5 staff members who will fulfil 11 roles. And at elite, you have 31 staff members who will perform one personal role. Obviously the big difference, they're all interdisciplinary really, they're all interdisciplinary roles because everyone talks to each other in these environments. However, the big difference between them all is the financial gain. So as a club, we can't afford to pay to bring a lot of roles in, a lot of players in, whereas Bristol have enough money to employ full-time members every day that work there every day. which to an extent hinders us a little bit, but as a club our action now is to progress forward and try and introduce more people if we can in these roles to help increase the club and get better results on the pitch like an elite club would for less of the cost. So I'm going to move on to Jerry.
Hi, I'm Jerry. In this presentation I'll be talking about the different levels that I've personally played and throughout my rugby career, so let's get started. What is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary in rugby? Well, for what I've said is that interdisciplinary is more than one area of the sport and exercise science working together in an integrated and coordinated manner to problem solve, meaning there'll be like skills involving integration, bridge building and restructuring, and I'll be getting into that. Integration meaning the application and combination of different disciplines into one. Bridge building meaning different people with different specialist knowledge comes together from different disciplines, and restructuring meaning theories and practices from one is brought into another discipline to restructure a problem. Multidisciplinary is a group of people from sub-discipline working area together working on a common problem. Athlete, for example, an athlete undertaking rehabilitation processes, so that could involve a nutritionist, a physiotherapist, doctor, surgeon, sports psychologist, and exercise physiologist. All these come in different levels. So, and where I started in a really like low amateur level, especially when I was at junior level at age 13 to 14. So as I was younger, I was experiencing different levels of rugby. So I was switching from club to club, time to time. So, and mainly at a junior level, I was at really low clubs. So as I got older, like under 16s levels, I ended up like switching to a club called Thurrock, which is a high level from when I was playing at Barking FC in Dagenham. So, and then from there, it was like I was playing for the Colts. There wasn't really many help throughout the whole rugby in both teams because it was a low budget club. Like no one was really helping out. There was only 1 or 2 training sessions a week. Only like one coach managing 18 kids, so it wasn't really where I wanted to be. So I ended up switching to Thurrock, which kind of boosted me up a bit, leading me to like having an opportunity to be in a Saracens under 17s and 16s academy for like 2 seasons. So with that, from starting at a really low club where like multidisciplinary, where they had no multidisciplinary at all, into an academy with a lot. Like even at that age, at under 16s and 17s, they still gave us a nutritionist, physiotherapy, and many more things. Like I can list it out all, but I'll get into that after. Then later on in my career, I ended up getting selected to play for county, which is Essex, when I turned 17. So then after a season with Saracens, I decided to switch to London Scottish because it was more local for me. Because obviously at the time I didn't really have like, the funds to go back and forth all the way to training, so I decided to go somewhere local. And this was at a senior academy level, so pushing up to semi-professional. And where I am now currently, I'm currently on a rugby contract with Future Elite Sports because I wanted to go abroad for my experiences, for my rugby experiences in America, in Portugal, in New Zealand. So I wanted to broaden my knowledge about each club and how multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary works in each club, like each level I played in. As it says here, I was meant to go abroad to Iowa, but the expenses were a bit too much because of like what is good for me, what is needed for me out there, and I decided not to go because of, like, I didn't want to really put myself in debt. And I ended up joining Future Elite's rugby academy based here in University Centre Somerset, where I'm currently playing for North Petherton, OFC, which is a decent club to play at. It's interdisciplinary sport. And played at Tyres for half a season, then joined North Pevin for many seasons. So next season is going to be a big step as there's going to be new coaches, a new chef and conditioning coach, and new players coming above. So there should be up in that. And the difference between amateur and elite level, I think, is the amount of people and staff that are involved at different club levels. For example, at Barking, there's very minimal crowds, very minimal players, very minimal coaches and sponsors. But at, for example, Saracens, they have their own stadium. They have many like coaches, strength conditioning, nutritionists, physiologists, psychologists, doctors, ranging from soft tissue specialists to, and then money income as well. And outcome is another difference between majority of the clubs all over the world. Squad sizes range from colts to juniors to senior levels, and academy squad size as well. Club sponsors linking in with elite professional teams, mainly to do with recognition. So yeah, and better experiences, i.e. facilities and playing against high level teams can gain recognition throughout everyone's playing career, because everybody always has an opportunity. And international tournaments, participating, going around the world, getting the club you play for noticed by many different clubs. Yeah, and here's a list of amateur versus elite. This is the amateur side, where there's very little, there's still a lot of people involved in it, compared to elite, where there's more than 20 people helping out, 20 coaches helping out in one team. So that's interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. And passing it on to...
Right, I'll be talking about football, so the 3 different levels of football and my experiences within it. So to begin with is amateur. As we can see, to begin with, we've got the manager, an assistant manager, a first aider, someone who took team sheets and safeguarding. I haven't listed down everything because usually it will be a manager and assistant manager who will do everything. So a manager and assistant manager would be your sports scientist, your doctor, your attacking and defending coach, it would be your nutritionist, it would be your therapist. They usually are from junior level to amateur level. They are usually 2 or 3 main people that will do everything. This is due down to finance, and not a lot of clubs will be able to put money into it. A lot of them, it's their money themselves, so they want to try and keep the expenses down as minimum as possible, but try and give the junior players and amateur players the best experience and playing career that they have. As I moved on to semi-professional, I won't name all of these, but as you get higher up, a lot more money is put within the clubs. So for example, you would have the head scouts, you have academy coaches, you have community coaches, so a lot of them within the semi-professional and within the professional, they start looking at a more wider approach within it, because they have a lot more funds that can go into the club and a lot more recognition for the clubs. They would have more people that can do the jobs within it, so you'll have the doctors, you'll have your goalkeeping coach, you'll have your chairman, your sports scientist, your IT crew, your safeguarding team, your first aid, your kit manager, and so on and so forth. This helps out a lot more for people that are in a professional based, because these coaches have degrees and are usually within full time within the occupation. Some of the semi-professional people will be full-time. They will be dedicating themselves to it, but a lot of it again will be voluntary, just like the amateur level and the junior level. My experience within it, as we can see, I started at a young age, about 6 it was. As anyone, you start off playing for fun to begin with. But then this developed into football teams within junior levels, amateur levels. So it's the same as Jerry Free's rugby. Never stayed in one sport, always wanted to go and see the different experiences you could. As I got older and got on, the highest level I've played at is county level. I've had 2 or 3 trials with academy trials, and this has given me as a player an experience of what it's like within the professional industry. Because during these trials you are at the club for a minimum of 6 weeks and the highest of 12 weeks, and within this you play with that team, you learn all the coaches, you learn about all the setup they have, the doctors, and you get a real feel of it as well, so you get to see the professional side within it. As we can see, I started coaching for a team called Skill School. This was basically, we were a after school club activity that would go to different primary schools and get boys and girls involved within football. So we would just turn up, we would do fun sessions for them, because usually we have participants who are like year 3 and year 4, so we wanted them to get involved straight away, show them the fun sides within it, and hopefully they could develop from it. As we got further on, as I go further on, I started with an academy team called South Dartmoor Community College back in October 2017. Within this, I also had a 6 months that I was with a professional team called Overtown Ladies. Within this, with the academy team, I'll start talking about, we had regular meetups weekly, so we had a Monday and a Wednesday that they had training sessions, but we would always communicate via email or via phone, so for example WhatsApp or texting, where we would speak about different things. So we would speak about what players are injured, what players need working on, who's our next opponents, and so forth and so on. Within the Yeovil Town industry, it was a bit higher than the academy, it's professional, so we would actually meet up personally. So it'd be, as you can see here, it'd be the sports scientist, it would be the first team, it would be the first team coach, the manager, the doctor, and whoever else was available at the time. We would meet up on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening, where we would sit over for a coffee to begin with before, again, the training sessions. We'll look at what players need working on, what ones are coming back from rehab, what teams they're playing on, what the first team manager would like from the players within the week before we go on, and so forth. Within this now, I'm now working as a sports scientist for Taunton Town. Unfortunately, I've only just started, so I don't know their setup or what days they have meets in and what time they do training and whatnot.
Okay, I'm going to talk about mainly trampolining, but my club is a trampoline and gymnastics club. Okay, so we are an interdisciplinary club. All the coaches are responsible for all of the roles. So we have a head coach who is also a high performance coach, and she is responsible for, or she's also the administrator, so she is responsible for all of the lesson planning, all of the coach planning, making sure that all the coaches have relevant classes based on their ability and what level they coach at. So we have 2 high performance coaches, 2 level 3 coaches, 4 level 2s and 5 level 1 coaches with 3 assistants, but those assistants may or may not be paid. They probably won't have a qualification, but they will be working towards their qualification, and they could be anything from a junior gymnast. Once they're over 13, they can apply for an assistant coach, and they may just be a parent that's quite happy to come in and help, but they won't have any responsibilities. All of our coaches are first aid trained, so anyone who's injured, any of the coaches can be called upon. We have 2 welfare officers who are also one of the coaches, so they deal with anything, any child protection issues within the club. As I said, the administrator is also the head coach. There's the treasurer, who is also one of the coaches, and we are a charity, so we are run and on a committee basis. So we have 15 members on our committee, and they are made up of coaches and parents of children at the club. So we have over 300 children that attend our club on a weekly basis. So we offer sessions 5 days a week, and they run from, most of the sessions are 3 hours, and each lesson will be for an hour long, depending on what level they are. If they're at advanced level, they'll generally train for 2 hours every day, at least 3 days a week. Once they get up to squad and elite, they're expected to do at least 8 hours of training a week. And we also offer adults, which is mainly recreational, they don't generally compete. We also offer early years sessions, which are anything from 2.5 years up to 6 years. So within our roles, every coach is responsible for planning their own session, depending on whether or not they've got a recreational group or an advanced rec or a squad or an elite level, depending on how long they're coaching for. And those sessions are expected to be planned before the morning or the afternoon session. every coach is responsible for the warm-up routines for all of their